Okay, we went live. Hello, folks. It's NutBallCop again. I hope everybody's having a happy Saturday. We're going to talk about a couple of things. If there's something you would like to discuss, go ahead and throw it in the comments, and we'll get started here. The reason I titled this live session "The Childish DOJ," I don't know if you saw this tweet from the Department of Justice. This is on the official blue check marked U.S. Department of Justice Twitter. I refuse to call it X. It's still Twitter. Worst rebrand ever. Um, the official Twitter account for US DOJ. And let me read you this insanity. And I want to kind of go deep in this because there's gaslighting, and I keep bringing this up. Where do you go when the word has run out? I love words. I love vocabulary. Grammarly, I think the record I used in a week or whatever their rating period is was almost 9,900 separate words. Probably a lot of that from technical writing, of course, when I was working for a big company. But what do you do when you run out of the meaning of the word, like gaslighting? What comes after gaslighting? Okay. Pure inversion of the truth. This tweet exemplifies that. Let me read it to you. U.S. Department of Justice, a statement from at AG Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Okay. Those two fools. Okay. Certain district court and magistrate judges in the Eastern District of Virginia are engaging in unconscionable campaign of bias and hostility toward U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan and her line assistant attorneys. AUSAS is the abbreviation. Going back to the tweet. Lindsay and our attorneys are simply doing their jobs, advocating for the Department of Justice's position while following the guidance from the Office of Legal Counsel. They do not deserve to have their reputations questioned in court for ethically advocating on behalf of their client. This Department of Justice has no tolerance for undemocratic judicial activism. We will continue fighting for public safety in courtrooms across the country and we will not be deterred by rogue judges who fail to live up to their obligations of impartiality because of their own political views. The American people and the people of the people of the Eastern District of Virginia deserve nothing less. Holy shit snacks. There is so much wrong in one tweet. And again, what they're trying to do is they're trying to literally invert the truth. Okay. First big point of order. Claiming that Lindsay Halligan is just trying to do her job. She does not have a fucking job. She was fired. Okay. As an illegal appointment, she was told, get the fuck out. Okay. What the Department of Justice do just made her a special. Remember how I told you the other day? Everybody in this government that's close to the orbit of Dear Leader Porn Star Humper all has 2, 3, 4 titles. Okay. They just think that makes them sound and look cool. I don't know, but if they don't have one title, they have another. So they can never be actually thrown out of government, I guess, is what they're trying. So what happened to do the TLDR review here is they had an attorney everybody loved in Virginia. The Eastern District was well represented legally by the current federal prosecutor. The current federal prosecutor wouldn't go after Trump's enemies, so he quit. Okay, and he very publicly said why he quit, because he's not going to do some political bidding. That's not his job as a federal prosecutor. And then they installed Lindsay Halligan, a completely unqualified attorney, not even remotely qualified for that job. Okay. The way the appointments work, if they can't get a confirmed person into that seat, then the district judges can basically pick who they want and go, that's the person. And that's what they did with the former federal prosecutor. They go, yeah, everybody loves you, man. Democrats like him, independents like him, Republicans love him. Well-regarded attorney. Yep. And the district court panel, the judge panel went, yeah, this is the guy we want. So they ran that guy out the door, did an illegal appointment, ignored the legal process that's very clear. There's no ambiguity about how prosecutors get appointed at the federal level in this country. There's zero confusion about it. The only confusion is the made-up gaslighting, pretending to be confusion of the DOJ attorneys who are in league with Bondi and Blanche. Okay. Two people that should not be in those positions. They're just way too corrupt and foolish to be in such a position of power. Because the Attorney General of the United States is one of the most powerful positions in the country. And that authority now is being abused for purely political reasons, namely to keep a sitting president from being impeached and being put back on trial, being convicted again, and possibly being sent to prison. Okay. And what I don't like about this tweet is judges are bound by rules. They cannot violate, or they'll end up in front of the ethics committee of the federal judiciary system. Judges aren't allowed to make public comment. Okay. So they cannot answer that tweet. None of the judges can. Never mind the judges in the Eastern District of Virginia. None of the federal judges can respond unless they resign first. Okay. Because if they start publicly speaking out against the DOJ or Halligan or Blanche or Bondi, they would be directly violating their judicial ethics code. So this was picking a fight with somebody who couldn't fight back. Okay, which is at face value quite wrong. And by the way, I researched this. Even in the Nixon era, like Rod Sigler, the spokesperson for the White House, would love to go after the Times and the Post because it's all political and it's only about politics and it's not about what the president is doing. Well, they knew what the president Nixon was doing. A lot of criminal shit. They knew what the vice president was doing, Spiro Agnew. A whole shit ton of very bad fucking criminal shit, including bribery. People were literally handing him briefcases full of money. The Hollywood bribe. Here's the case. Will you do this for us? Yeah, I will. Here's the money. Okay. Even with that shit going on, you didn't have, Mitchell and Coulson and all the other Haldeman, all the other pit bulls, screaming at judges. That didn't happen. Claiming that Halligan was just doing her job is a purposeful lie. Okay. It's an intentional lie. Because they want to misrepresent that she still has legal power when district court judges are going, why is Halligan's name still on this motion, this case, whatever? And judges are going, do not ever bring me a piece of paperwork with her name on it again, or whatever you bring me will be summarily dismissed. Okay. So how is Halligan doing her jobs if literally just federal district courts will not accept her name on a form? They will not accept her as what's called as an officer of the court. There's no mystery about the Senate. The president recommends or nominates, the Senate confirms. If the position becomes vacant, you can do a replacement appointment. But if they can't re-ratify somebody, then it's up to the judges to permanently fill that slot. None of that is in question. Zero of that has to be litigated. That's any claim about that's completely false. The DOJ is accusing judges of acting illegitimately when they actually followed the law hyper specifically. There's again, outside of the Trump administration and the Bundy Blanche run DOJ, nobody is questioning how judges are appointed. I mean, sorry, prosecutors are appointed. Okay, or that the judge panel can fill a vacancy if the executive branch can't get his shit together and get somebody through the Senate. And what this is again is, I've talked about the pan nationalism again. I'm sorry, I talked about it before, but let's talk about it again. The pan nationalism, they're copying each other in every country where there's right wing personas. Like, if you heard some dickhead here say something stupid, Steve Bannon, um, Trump, Hegseth, Nigel Farage is going to repeat it within a couple of days. He's going to put his own twist on it for the British audience, but he's going to directly parrot what they say. Okay. Now, attacking the judiciary, that's very popular in the far right and the Nazi parties. Okay. Who's done it? The Law and Justice Party in Poland has done this. Okay. The Orban's ruling party in Hungary has done this. The quacks, far righters in Turkey, what the hell, AK something, AKP, they've done it. Chavez and Maduro, they've never shut up about the judges, because judges are a block to their dictatorship. So they never shut up about the judges. Okay. AfD has complained about the German judiciary. Okay. So this is just copycat behavior. And notice, like, the tone of the tweet. Every asshole in the system now has to sound just like dear leader. His reductive nonsense, his bitchy tone, his nasty, animus that is always on fire hose. I mean, you can't just say, well, I disagree with that person. He's got a fire hose how much he hates them. No, everybody in the chain is doing it. How the fuck is this governance? The judges pose no risk to the prosecutors. Having their reputations harmed. Okay, who damaged their reputations? All the players damaged their own reputations. Nobody is damaging Lindsay Halligan. She got in way over her head. Okay. She's a beauty queen who became an insurance lawyer who's been in court one time before she was appointed as a U.S. attorney. And the case she was on was a 4-hour hearing about why they didn't pay enough in a car accident or a medical claim or some shit like that. It was an insurance case, not a criminal case. Okay. And I'm not saying that civil lawyers aren't important. They're very important. Okay. But she does not that type of lawyer. I mean, putting Halligan into the Eastern District of Virginia would be like taking a learning vocational nurse and making them chief of surgery at a college research university hospital. Yes, she's involved in medicine, but not at that level and not at that specialty. No. Now, what this tweet is foretelling is they plan to use Emil Bouvet's order, which he now denies, but many people have leaked that, yeah, he actually said that shit. Emil Bouvet, when he was temporarily working, now he's a judge, which is a total nightmare. But when he was working in a U.S. attorney's office, he told the subordinate attorneys, just tell the federal courts to fuck off. He completely denied it in the hearing in the Congress. But insiders said, yeah, he said it. And he said it quite explicitly. This tweet is definitely in that path. The vector they're going to go is they're just going to announce that the judge has no authority here because daddy said so. We're removing the checks and balances of the judiciary. because they're going after everything here. They're going after the legitimacy of the courts. They're going after separation of powers. Okay. There's a reason why we have I was talking about this yesterday. Article 1, Article 2, Article 3. Legislation, executive, judicial. Okay. Madison knew what the hell he was doing. and when you turn around and you start attacking the legitimacy of the courts, or you're attacking the public understanding about how the courts work, you're just sowing distrust. And that's your only purpose, is to sow distrust. There's no other purpose to the comment or to the tweet. You are literally trying to undermine your judiciary because you're not getting what you want to further your corruption and crimes or your unconstitutional moves. I mean, go back and watch that Legal Eagle video where they reviewed all of the 200 plus crimes by date they occurred, either illegal or unconstitutional, and went through 2025. We're already over 200. Okay, that's why this tweet went out the way it did. And trying to claim this is about public safety, bullshit. Bullshit. Their biggest effort in the DOJ is literally taking people off of drug trafficking, terrorism, and organized crime to go chase down Jorge in a lettuce field. Go beat up the tamale grandmother in San Diego. Okay? Public safety, my ass. You wouldn't know public safety from a fucking hole in the ground. And it's this cover term where society is out of control. The country's out of control. You all must be policed more in a military fashion. Okay? We don't police the army in a military fashion. We still use basic police work. We don't start dropping bombs. We don't start missiling ships because we thought a soldier committed a crime. And they do commit crimes, by the way. The inversion of reality is so plain here. Like, Halligan was just doing her job. No, Halligan was illegally appointed to the role of U.S. attorney. And I believe the administration knew it was illegal. They just didn't care. Okay? Judges are biased and hostile. No, the judges are just saying you have an illegal appointment. This is illegal. You can't do that. Judges say that every day, every hour, every day. A judge somewhere is going, no, that's illegal. You can't do that. Okay? No, you should have gotten a search warrant. That's unconstitutional. Therefore, fruit of the poisonous tree. Everything downstream from that search warrant's gone. Whoop! You didn't do your job right. That's not hostility. That's adjudication. Okay? Just because it didn't go your way because you're a bad attorney who are hiring a shitload of bad attorneys. Okay? Attorneys that are getting their ass handed to them by people like Mark Elise. Okay? He's using the Department of Justice as a punching bag right now. Good work, by the way. They're being victimized for their righteous work. Righteous, like Jesus said, all bow down to the illegal appointment in the DOJ. No, no. What the judges are doing is pushing back on the politicalization of appointments and the conduct that these radicalized far-right attorneys are doing. Rogue judges threaten justice itself. These are the people, this is coming from the people who don't believe in due process. My whole thing when I was a cop or I was doing, work in the Army for law enforcement purposes, the whole thing was doing it right. Because one, you look like a fool, you go to court and get your case thrown out. You just look like an idiot. Especially if it's a simple case. You just didn't write it up well. Okay? Or you made a mistake in the report. Because you weren't paying attention. Okay? I prided myself that I had so few cases dismissed. Now, like I said the other day, sometimes you just get a bad judicial decision. Well, I didn't like that traffic stop or whatever, and you should have never found that or whatever. Well, we're sitting on the fucking passenger seat. It was a fucking illegal gun. What do you want me to do? Um, and they're trying to interchange, replace public safety with loyalty to the regime. This is absurd. This is genuinely absurd. Even politicians I like, I am not loyal to them. You are a public servant doing a job in a democratic republic. You are a paid employee of the electorate. Do your fucking job and do it well or go home. Okay? I don't get on one knee and pledge fealty to political candidates. That's ridiculous. But this is what is happening here. You know, any dissent is a threat to the public order. That's why they try to name Antifa a terrorist group when Antifa is not a group. It's a loosely held ideology. Okay? There's one person who actually went up against a few groups in my day. This is not a terrorist group. Not even close. Threats to stability. Critics are just a threat to stability. That's dictator language 101. Okay? That's just part and parcel to authoritarian speak. Enemies of the people. That's classic. We all know that one. That's opposition politicians. You cannot be a critic in an opposition party because you're disloyal, you're unpatriotic. Da 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 da. I thought we had free speech. I thought we had the right to disagree. Because it's funny, no one's saying that, when a Democrat comes up with a policy that probably won't work or is actually foolish, and the Republicans go ballistic, no one's saying, hey, the Republicans should have their free speech taken away because they're disloyal and unpatriotic. No. And when they try to paint judges as an obstacle to public safety, this is absurd. This is truly absurd. Especially coming from Pam Bondi, who's not concerned whatsoever with public safety. She's not concerned with law enforcement. She's not and she doesn't give a shit about the rule of law. She's in there to serve a king. And she will do anything, perform any illegal or unconstitutional act, or order DHS to do it, or ICE to do it, or whomever. Okay? They literally do not care. They care in the power of an imperial presidency, the most dangerous thing that is a possible option in our society. And the fact is that since no one's ever done this in the DOJ before, understand that this is not DOJ language. This is state party language. This is the shit you would hear from name a dictator of the 20th century. Name a dictatorial system like East Germany and the Stasi. They're using this language for the sole purpose of conditioning their audience to accept them doing illegal and unconstitutional things in the name of safety. Safety doesn't have to be the result, and often it's not. It's not. And when you're using public safety as a wedge term, this goes back to the same crap of only dear leader can save you. And that's the core thing about totalitarianism. Every dictator I've studied in the 20th century, whether it be Ceausescu, Gaddafi, Idi Amin, Pol Pot, it doesn't matter. It's all about the cult of personality. And you build that cult of personality saying there's a great evil out there to get you, and nobody else but me can help you. And if you don't believe me, I will beat the shit out of you, torture you, have you raped or murdered. You know, Pinochet, great example. If they wanted public safety, they would be doing public safety things. Like they'd be concentrating on getting the felons with convictions or the people who keep coming across the border that are felons in Mexico, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and kicking their asses out. Not attacking the Somali grandma who has no criminal record whatsoever, has been here for like 40 fucking years and has never caused a problem. I'm sorry, one of the things Reagan did correctly was amnesty. Okay, we need the fucking labor. Okay, we kick everybody out. It's going to be a disaster like we're seeing right now, and we're going to lose all the damn labor. And the level of immaturity, the childness, the ridiculous taunting. This is like an angry 6-year-old boy who had his ice cream cone knocked out of his hand. Okay, now he wants to go ballistic on the other kid. Even when the kid goes, "I'm sorry, would you like some of mine?" um, and again, remember I talked about how they're trying to say that Article 2 has a superior authority above everybody else in government. This is a repeat of it. They're trying to say that the judges are subordinate to the DOJ. They are not. They are on the same level as the executive branch, co-equal branches of government. Okay? They're trying to accuse judges of being political actors. They're specifically banned from doing that, and if they do, they end up in front of the Judicial Ethics Committee. And they will get fired. Okay? Judges are there as a check on the executive. That is their constitutional purpose. All these assholes from the Federalist Society pretend they're all about the founding fathers, but obviously they never read Jefferson, Jay, Madison, Hamilton, or they're just ignoring it because they think the childness sells. It's the marketing that works, the common denominator marketing. And again, it's specifically spelled out. It's Title 18 of the USC, the United States Code. It's sections 541 to 546. Literally spells out how it's done: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And until the beach blonde with boobs was seen by dear leader, nobody ever questioned this. Okay. And it's not the first time he's made an illegal appointment. Haba was also an illegal appointment. And again, she got hired by boob size, not by legal qualifications. Because the president's a degenerate and he doesn't want qualified people. He wants his beach babes around him. There's tons of qualified attorneys that he could hire. He specifically choosing to pick the worst attorneys in the world to represent not just him, but when they fail at representing him, he promotes them to U.S. attorney in the federal government or gives them a legal advisory job in the White House. We saw how many of his attorneys lost their law licenses in the first term. And after his loss, the quality of legal representation in his orbit is horrible. Horrible. Oh, remember I was talking a lot about the upcoming midterms? The writing is all over the wall. If we want to win the midterms, I don't care what your stripe is, as long as you're not a crazy red hat rube or part of the Nazis. Anybody who's a normie conservative, a centrist, a Democrat, a libertarian, green, I don't give a shit right now. All I want to do is get rid of fucking MAGA. And we have a way of doing it. Okay? Say it with me. The word is affordability. Okay? I've been watching these special elections, watching the season elections, I'll call them, the Miami mayor race. Not only did she flip the Miami mayor seat, which has been held by Republicans for decades, she did it on a double-digit turn. The polling is really, really sliding toward the other side and away from red hat mania. But if we have a bunch of candidates and the DNC, who always scares the shit out of me, because it's theirs to lose. Because if you look back at the last, almost century, only like 4 times has the ruling party survived the midterm election without losing something. And there's been several elections where they were just total blowouts. Okay. Obama suffered that. Remember, he got in front of the press corps and said, yeah, we took a shellacking last night. And they did. They got their ass handed to them. Okay. That's going to happen at some measure anyways. But to repair the problems we're facing in this country, in this society, and the corruption we're facing in the political system, this needs to be an absolute blowout. To make it a blowout, you've got to have the right topics. Okay. And let me preface this, because I don't want any liberals getting mad at me. Yes, you should be nice to other people. Yes, you should show respect to our neighbors, even if they're queer folks. Okay. Or their new enemy, the subset of queer folks, trans. Okay. We shouldn't be discriminating against our fellow Americans. No problem there. Okay. But you ain't going to win the midterms on that issue. You are going to win the midterms on affordability, because a mayor in a bright red city where a party had a total lock on the mayor's seat for 30 years, I think it was a little more than 30 years, she flipped it because she wouldn't shut the fuck up about affordability. Miami is the most expensive city in the nation now. It's more expensive than New York or San Francisco. Okay. That's funny because Miami's exploding in price while the rest of the state is falling apart. They have insurance problems. They have a finance problem. They have a mortgage rate problem. They have tourism problem. Now the Canadians aren't showing up in the Sunshine State. Snowbirds stayed home this year, all because of Trump. Okay, so she got up into the race and she jumped up and down, up and down, up and down, and would not stop talking about affordability. Now you need to take that as your major message, because this winter is going to be brutal. And by the time the spring comes around and people really start to heavily campaign for the midterms, they're going to feel exactly what the critics have been talking about. You got a base core of living unaffordability problem. Housing is a considerable disaster in most of the country now, whether renting or owning. It's a problem for most of the population. Okay. Its affordability is literally disappearing month by month. You got a grocery price problem, not caused by what they're claiming. It's caused by a consolidation of the market, private equity ownership, and corporate socialism. Okay. Insurance is going to become nightmarish in at least 3 of the top 5 state economies in the union: Florida, Texas, and California. The insurance market is going to go haywire this winter, especially if we have another natural disaster in any of those locations. And it can even be tangential. Like, remember the big storm that went up to New England and caused all the flooding in Vermont, and we lost most of the covered bridges a few years back? It could be an event like that, hitting somewhere completely other else in the country. Then the local markets in Florida, Texas, and elsewhere look at it and go, total panic. Could really happen. The other thing that's biting working paycheck earners in the butt is this winter is going to be natural gas. Everybody loves selling natural gas overseas while telling us it's America's energy solution. Then why are you shipping so much overseas? Because you're making a bigger profit selling it on the world spot market than on the domestic exchanges. You are completely undermining American families by offshoring so much fuel. Because natural gas is responsible for so much in our economy. It just doesn't keep our houses warm. It runs our farms. It runs manufacturing. The grid will not work without natural gas right now. Let me repeat that. The electrical grid will not work without natural gas and affordable natural gas. Natural gas is going to spike so high this winter because of bad policy. So if you really want to win the midterms and you really want them you want to hand them their hat and show them the door, don't bring up issues that aren't going to win for you. The issue that's going to win is dealing with affordability, dealing with foreign policy that seems to be completely off the rail and corrupt, and just the general corruption of this administration. Okay, that's what's going to take the House away from Republicans this midterm. Okay, they don't give a shit about affordability. They do not give a shit, and they're not even talking about. Sure, Rand Paul said something. Ben Sasse said something. I think it was Bernie Thompson said something, but I mean, I've heard like 6 comments out of 500 plus people. We're about to go to war with Venezuela on completely bullshit premises. We're going to spend $1 trillion at least doing it. Is Congress going to wake the fuck up and do something? At least acknowledge what the hell is going on? The War Power Act gives the presidency, even though we passed it after Nixon to contract the power of the presidency, the only way the War Powers Act works if Congress intervenes. It's a stagnant law unless Congress gets together and goes, what the hell are we doing? Like, 2 things have not happened. Congress, whether it's the Armed Services Committee or whoever, Congress has not gotten a briefing about Venezuela, even though we're killing people. We're seizing oil tankers. I thought it was about cocaine and fentanyl. Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. We switched gears. Now it's about oil tankers. Are the oil tankers full of drugs? Is that what you're claiming? Yeah. Congress hasn't been briefed and Congress hasn't acted. That's a recipe for disaster for any president, much more so for this one. You know, dealing with the corruption, dealing with the economy for real, not just shining us on. This whole payout to the farmers, y'all realize that's bullshit, right? Sure, the family farmer is going to get a few dollars, but only a few dollars. It's an acreage payment. Who the hell do you think gets all the money or gets most of the money? The biggest farms owned by corporation and private equity. 50% of this bailout caused by tariffs and caused by destroying bad foreign policy, destroying an outbound market for the farmers. 50% of the subsidization and which is really a bailout from bad policy is going to go to the top 10% of the farm operations, not the little guy. And I see politicians left and right just, oh my God, I can't believe what he did for the farmers. Are you fucking kidding me? A $12 billion payment and you're cheering that on? Just in Nebraska, just in soybeans, that's $2 billion. Vaporized. You're telling me 12 billion repairs the damage you've done to the farming industry? On top of not guaranteeing their loans, on top of canceling the suicide hotline for the farmers? What are we doing? Oh, that's right. We're going to attack Venezuela because all our problems now are Venezuela. Base. again, on a lot of bullshit. Fentanyl is not coming from Venezuela. A little cocaine is. Okay. But now you stop the money to Colombia, Venezuelan cocaine is going to be knocked out of the market. The crop that they're going to grow next season in Colombia, because they don't have the enforcement money to deal with it, we're going to be saturated with cocaine next year. Saturated. I don't care if you call another aircraft carrier group and park it off the coast of Venezuela. Okay. You take away Colombia's money, you're going to end up with more cocaine in the United States. And you're going to spend $1 trillion not to slow down a market. Because here's the problem. The problem isn't Venezuela. The problem is the U.S. drug consumer. We use more dope than any other fucking country on the planet. Okay. And you telling Maduro to go bye-bye is not going to even slow down the drug trade. It will literally be a blip on the radar. Gone. That was your effect. And it's going to cost us $1 trillion or more to do that. Not to mention the money we're going to have to re-inject into Colombia, Bolivia, and other places that Trump's pulled out. Now we're going to have to give him even more money because we created even a bigger problem. We were managing the problem with tight relationships and allied agreements. Yeah, remember, Colombia is South America's example of Germany in Europe. They're a close freaking ally. Like, all of the Colombian military is designed after our light infantry units. Like, literally, we taught them. It was our Green Berets and our infantry NCOs that taught them how to fight, how to be a light infantry. Okay, they give us information. They do work for us. But Trump pulled all their money because, drugs are bad. Okay. Looks like Mr. Mackey made president. Christ. And the thing is, it's not going to do a damn thing. And after you get rid of Maduro, you're telling me you're going to get who you want, the way you want it? I'm sorry. When has that worked out? I'm sorry. We were in a war with Korea, 75 years ago? And still the regime that we don't like is still there. Okay. We invaded Iraq. Did we get a modern Germany or a modern Japan like we did after World War II out of Iraq? No. Did we even slow down the heroin coming out of Afghanistan with divisions of troops in the country? No. But you're convinced you can invade Venezuela and destroy a market where U.S. consumers support the market. And the consequences, like, every time we've taken out a cartel leader in Mexico or Central America or taken out Pablo Escobar in Colombia, a worse asshole followed. Like we defeated the Sonora cartel. Okay, if you want to sell it like that, you want to market it like that, go ahead. You didn't defeat shit. You just caught a couple of players, a couple of big ones this time. Sure, yeah, I'll agree with that. But then you just splintered the whole cartel into 14 different groups. And the one that won that battle, because they all fight it out to figure out who's in control, the one that came up is far worse than the old group. Far worse. They don't even give a shit who they murdered. They'll walk into a town and shoot the mayor, the chief of police, the school principal, and the head nurse, just to let them know who's in charge. What'd you win? What'd you win when you took out the Sonora cartel? A press release? Do I slow clap now? What are you going to get out of Venezuela? Because I really want to know what I'm buying for the $1 or $2 trillion you're about to spend. The $1 and $2 trillion you're not going to spend on Americans or on American infrastructure. We're allergic to infrastructure because it costs too much. Yet we fall ass over tea kettle toward every fucking conflict. And if there isn't one readily available, we'll make up one. Because Venezuela, we're doing this because we can. That's the entire reason. There's no other reason. We can do it. It's a wonderful distraction. It changes the A blocks on the network news, and it gives a hero worship hour to the couch on Fox Noise. Oh my God, he's saving America by invading Venezuela. Fat fucking chance. You want to lower drug abuse? No, I'll tell you one thing. As a libertarian, as a groovy libertarian, I don't have any problem with what you put in your body or what you do with your body. That's up to you. You want to be a hooker? Be the best damn hooker you can be. You want to do drugs? Do drugs. You still have to show to work. You still have to take care of your family, and you can't be a fucking asshole in public. Okay? If you really wanted to curtail drug use in this country, you'd eliminate poverty. You'd increase education. You would completely, from top to bottom, from toenails to brain, reform healthcare. Okay? Because with the countries that don't have the massive drug use we have, those are factors. Why is cocaine so popular and and synthetic drugs so popular in Britain today? Britain contains 9 out of the top 10 poorest enclaves in Europe. There's a correlation between poverty and drug abuse. And that's the part I don't like. I don't care about drug use. I had a whole shitload of black coffee this morning. Okay, caffeine's a drug. We tax and benefit off of nicotine, ethanol. Those are drugs. Okay. I love my THC edibles and my CBD edibles. Those are drugs. I know that. But you sit there and tell us, oh, your drugs are bad, our drugs are good. Then you give us opioids that killed upwards to 100,000 in a year. I think it's almost like 450,000 total in like a decade. It's terrible. But if you really want to, first thing you got to do is be real. What I suggest is reading Dr. Carl Hart, reading his website, and maybe getting his book at the library. You need to disconnect drug use from drug abuse. And we need to deal with drug abuse. But you're not dealing with drug abuse by invading Venezuela. Because there's no way you're knocking any of the fentanyl off the market. Any noticeable measure. That's true with fentanyl, and that's true with cocaine. So you could spend, they say, oh, we can't afford healthcare, and we're just going to let the subsidies expire. Okay, you're going to see more drug abuse, more alcoholism, more mental health problems, more delayed care that results in major medical, situations, impromptu, unplanned, major medical care, which is always the most expensive. You want a cheaper healthcare system? Make sure everybody in this country has a family physician. Because if they don't, they end up at the ER. There's nowhere more expensive on earth to go for healthcare in the world than an American emergency room. Okay. So again, what do you plan on getting out of an invasion of Venezuela? What do you think you're doing by murdering people on the high seas? I don't care if they were trafficking 6 tons of cocaine. There isn't a single statute on our books that calls for capital punishment for drug possession or drug trafficking at any level. How do I know this? Some of the biggest drug traffickers are sitting in U.S. prisons, completely alive. But we're just going to randomly select a few people and execute them because U.S. consumers buy a lot of dope. Now, it's not meaning I agree with all drugs. Don't get me wrong about that. Like, don't ever start doing fucking meth. I mean, that's a horrible drug. Horrible, 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 horrible drug. Okay. Cocaine, I think it's a dumb drug. I mean, for men especially, because it makes both your bank account and your penis small. So why do you want to do cocaine? I mean, have a scotch and an edible. Much more fun. And I think it's a waste of time. I think the whole drug, even though I was in it years ago, I think now the drug war is a complete waste of time, money, resources. And it's literally impossible for the government to achieve any meaningful goal by doing what they've been doing since Ronald Reagan. And I still think we need to go after violent criminals. Again, don't get me wrong about that. Don't straw man me. um, it's one thing to say you're going after the violent traffickers, but the data of the drug war, remember, I always talk about data, being a data engineer. Um, the data of the drug war is about small amounts and arrests for possession. That's the absolute lion's share of the drug war. So this one time you say, oh, I'm going to go after this kingpin. Well, you just let one go. Jose Hernandez was literally a narco state terrorist. Okay. He was just as bad as the Panamanian dude. He just got a full unquestionable pardon. And then Honduras filed warrants with Interpol. The hour later, he's arrestable if he leaves the United States. Like, he can never go to Colombia. Colombia will arrest him on site at gunpoint. They'll kill his bodyguards and then take him custody. Okay. So, back to the election coming up. These are all important issues, but when we're talking to candidates, and I'll wrap it up here. When we're talking candidates looking up toward the midterms, we've got to put the economy not for the stock market. The stock market isn't representative of the economy we live in. I mean, we, the average American citizen, not the upper 1% or 0.1%. How is the economy doing it on Main Street? That has to be the issue. That is the winning issue. When candidates, from whatever stripe you're looking at, okay, when they start talking about other shit, tell them time out. The electorate doesn't care this cycle. Care about one thing and one thing only: being able to afford to live in the United States of America. That's the issue for this midterm. Trying to do some high-minded goal in some sector of governance or education or something like that. Not that that's not a good goal to have. Okay. What I'm saying, do you want to win this fucking election or not? And if you talk about much more than affordability, you're going to lose the attention of the voter. So think about that going forward. Again, study up, find a candidate that you can agree with, you can ask questions of, that you can make sure that the people we're putting in this cycle at least have half a brain to deal with once they get to Washington. Because I think a lot of the people we have in Congress are just simply checked out. They don't give a shit. We need people who actually care about the job of being in Congress. Okay. They need to directly deal with affordability. They need to be an independent voice in maybe not a nonpartisan independent politically like me, but they need to be an independent voice, no matter what stripe they align with, or they're completely independent. They've got to stand up for something. This empty positioning, once you get into office, has to stop. The Chuck Schumerisms have to stop. This whole shrug thing by Hakeem Jeffries, knock it off. We've got real problems that it really should be critically addressed. And when you need to put your foot down, you should be doing it hard and loud. Okay. So until next time, please think about it.